Hello, everyone. I say this at the beginning of every event, trying so hard not to have that millennial pause, but it doesn't give me a clear indication. But welcome to today's event. Today we are going to focus on our Product Management Bootcamp and the product management industry and share some information here. Before I get started, I just want to make sure that everybody is familiar with the space that we're in here. So in the bottom right corner, there is a chat log there. You're welcome to chat with each other. You can chat with us throughout the event there, but that's kind of what that one's for. Beside that, there is a questions tab. The questions tab, we are going to do some audience Q&A at the end of this session. So just want to make sure this is right here. There we go. So we're going to do some audience Q&A at the end of this session. And so if we are ignoring your questions at all throughout, I promise it's only with the intent to go back and answer them together later. So please feel free to put them in there. I've also put some polls into the polls tab there, so feel free to fill those out throughout the presentation. Excuse me. And one thing I should note is that this whole session is going to be recorded. I'll probably mention this a few times throughout the session here, just in case anybody trickles in a bit after. But everything will be recorded, so if there's any stats in the slides or any details that you hear from myself or from the guest speaker that you're interested in, you're certainly welcome to take notes. You're certainly welcome to take screenshots. You can do anything that you like that way, but you're also welcome to just kind of sit back and relax and enjoy the information, and then you'll get the full recorded session in your email inbox afterwards. Also check your junk mail just in case it decided to go there. For some people, it does that sometimes, but yeah, that's kind of the initial stuff here. I also like to invite people to join or to share where they are joining us from. So I'm originally from Ontario. I'm from Niagara Falls, but I currently live in Alberta. I live in Calgary. I live downtown here. So feel free in the chat to let us know where you are joining us from for today's session. I'm assuming we're probably going to have some folks coming in here from Ontario today. See some folks typing over there. Where are you from? Toronto. Toronto. From South Africa. Oh, amazing, amazing. Have you ever had bultung before? It's really good. I'm sure you have. Toronto. Nigeria. Hello, Toronto. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining this session. Just in case anybody just hopped in, again, I'll mention this a few times, but everything will be recorded today. So without further ado, I will go ahead and get the presentation kicked off here. So as I mentioned, today is an information session, and it is focused on product management and our 21-week product management career bootcamp. I'll start here by introducing myself. So my name is Tyler. I work at CircuitStream. I've been with this company for just about 3 years. I think my anniversary should be coming up any minute here. And previous to that, I actually worked in travel and tourism for over a decade, and kind of made a little bit of a career shift and life shift during COVID times, as many people did. We will also have an amazing guest speaker joining us today. He'll be up on stage in just a few minutes. His name is Amandeep, and he's a current student in our Product Management Bootcamp. He's going to share some information about his course experience, his future goals. But before I invite him up on stage, I'm going to take some time to share a little bit about CircuitStream and about the product management bootcamp and the industry in Canada overall here. So I'll start off here. CircuitStream, we began in 2015 through a network of developers, designers, and creators, and we're now a leading provider of technology learning for adults and for teens, and in different spaces like AR, VR, game development, design, product management, software development, so on and so forth. And we partner with leading industry companies and leading educational institutions to offer courses and training to those looking to learn more about emerging technologies. So just a snapshot of some of our partners up there on the screen. So why launch a career in product management? Product manager is an interdisciplinary position that collaborates with different departments to guarantee the success of a new product. Product managers have a dynamic career with opportunities to share innovative products and have measurable impact on a company's success. On screen here, you can see some of the top reasons why people may choose to work as product managers. Acquiring product management skills in Canada specifically positions individuals to excel in a variety of industries and contribute to economic growth. With a rapidly growing technology sector and a thriving startup ecosystem in cities like Toronto and Vancouver, product managers play a vital role in driving innovation and ensuring companies deliver products that meet market needs. According to LinkedIn, in Ontario alone, there are currently over 700 job postings for product management positions, which is pretty crazy. It's a lot of availability. There are also many different titles that product managers would be hired for. Some of these could be like product strategists, growth product managers, product marketers, et cetera, et cetera. So probably see lots of variations of those when you're looking through places like Indeed for opportunities. The average salary for product manager roles in Canada is 109,000, according to Glassdoor. And this stat was taken from 2023, so it may actually be a little bit higher now compared to what it was previously. Now, in terms of our actual boot camp here, our hands-on 21-week product management bootcamp is both online and project-based. It has 5 hours of live class per week, 2.5 hours of technical biweekly career labs, and 10 hours of independent study. There are weekly assignments, in-class challenges, portfolio projects, and students complete this course with a capstone project at the end. The bootcamp is designed for those interested in learning the essential practices of product management, from strategic planning and feature development to agile execution. The program's comprehensive curriculum is designed to provide a full spectrum of understanding of the product life cycle, ensuring that you are adept in all guiding products from their initial conception all the way to market dominance. So product management is a great career opportunity with lots of growth potential. This is why we've collaborated with the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies to offer this hands-on 21-week bootcamp that will take you from a beginner all the way to launching a career in product. That's a little bit about our bootcamp here. In terms of the outcomes for this course, the bootcamp graduates emerge with comprehensive skill sets that prepare them for success. You can see everything on screen here, but through in-depth modules like Product Management Foundations, students gain a solid understanding of the roles and responsibilities, how they navigate product development stages, and how they use data to inform strategic decisions. Ooh, stumbling over my words today. Sorry, guys. Graduates are also educated on market insights and product strategy, feature ideation and development, agile execution and team dynamics, product positioning and growth, and data mastery and decision making. And students receive career development throughout the course, and they complete the bootcamp with a product manager certification that is both from Circuit Stream and also from the University of Toronto there. So you can kind of see the dual branded certification there. And speaking of career development, I would now like to invite Circuit Stream Student Outcomes Manager Wanai on stage to share some information about the career support that's offered through our bootcamps. So welcome, Wanai.
Thank you so much, Tyler. So our career labs teach students how to leverage technical and behavioral strengths, gain awareness of the digital ecosystem, create compelling portfolios, elevate digital presence, learn how to network effectively, and become interview ready for industry jobs. Our career and networking support really sets our programs apart from others you may find. Every student has different objectives coming in, but for those looking for new jobs or to improve their current positions, find this aspect of the course incredibly helpful. As a part of the career support, our bootcamps also come with a student pitch day, which happens towards the end of the program. Students have the opportunity to showcase their capstone projects to hiring and industry partners. This event is an amazing way to add people to your network, be considered for any job openings they may have, or to just receive feedback on your projects from hiring managers working in the industry. Here are some examples of our hiring partners for our Product Management Bootcamp who may attend our upcoming Product Management Pitch Days. You can also expect to see some of these industry partners in our exclusive AMA sessions, which are also a great opportunity to network with potential employers. Thank you, and back to you, Taylor.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wanai. Amazing career support through these boot camps here. We're going to share a little bit more about that. So on that note, I'm going to, in just a second here, officially invite our speaker up. Before I do, I just want to give one quick mention here that for today's session, we do have a little bit of a hard stop right on the hour. So sometimes these sessions can run for about an hour and a half or so with the Q&A portion. So we're going to do our best at the end of this session to get through as many questions as we can from you guys. But if we go past the hour mark here, I can stick around and answer some questions if I'm able to, but just try and get your questions in throughout the presentation here. And then that way we can take a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the end and try and make sure we get through all of those before we have to end the session, basically. So, and if we ever left anything without an answer, of course, we would just have our team follow up with you afterwards too, but it's always better to answer live during the event when we can. So without further ado, I'm going to invite our guest speaker up on stage. Amandeep is one of our current Product Management Bootcamp students, and I'm going to ask him some questions about his course experience and his future plans. And he's got some exciting news too for his current going-ons in his life. So without further ado, welcome Amandeep.
Hi, Tyler. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. So I'm just going to organize my screen here, and then I'm just going to dive right in and ask you some of these questions here.
Sure.
My screen's not formatting the way I want it to right now, but I think it's going to work for me. There we go. All right. So first question for you would be, how did you choose this specific boot camp, the Product Management Bootcamp? And did you compare it with any other options when you were looking, or kind of how did you find it?
Well, I'll say I didn't choose it. It chose me. And the reason I say that is I was looking for something to do within the product space, right? So I searched online, just Googled out certifications. I didn't want to do any sort of certification for like a day or two. Like certifications are usually you sit in that certification, you give the exam, and you get the certification. I wanted to do something which is a little bit longer and cover the topics in a more in-depth and intensive way, right? So that was my first step, and I started looking for it. And apparently I saw an ad on Facebook, and it says Product Management Bootcamp. And what really sparked my interest in that is I saw this is the first of its kind. This was the first. So our cohort is like the first cohort that was part of this camp. And then the second one was that it's with the University of Toronto Continuing School of Studies, right? So I was like, this sounds interesting. I'm based in Toronto. Product Management Bootcamp, which spanned for over 6 months, almost 6 months. First of its kind. I consider myself an early adopter, so I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot and see how that works. And so that's how I found it. So that's it, or it found me on social media. So and I'm very happy to be a part of it so far.
I love that. I love that. It's always different stories every time I talk to a student on how they kind of came across the course. So it's always interesting to hear your story.
Sure.
What was your background before enrolling in the boot camp? Did you have any specific product management experience going in?
I do. So I come from a very heavy financial banking industry background. So I've worked with all the big banks in the US and in Canada. Focused on the product part of it. I actually started my career as a business analyst and then transitioned over to the product side. I was doing a little bit of everything, basically. A little bit of ideation, a little bit of execution, a little bit of design, stuff like that. So I touched many different aspects of product management. So I did have some experience in product management in general. But the beauty about this course was when I joined this course, I was able to put all those little nuggets in the appropriate places and say, okay, this part belongs to this topic. Execution belongs to this. Strategy belongs to that. That actually helped me consolidate everything that I've worked for, and then just helped me during the interviews also.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after you kind of signed up for the boot camp and you were leading up to the start date, did you do anything to kind of help prepare yourself before you got into it?
I did as much as I could before the start of it. So first of all, I looked at the information that was provided before the boot camp started. So what is going to be covered in the boot camp at a very high level? I consider myself I'm always prepared for meetings or anything like that. So I wanted to be prepared for the first session actually. And so I looked at everything that was provided, and make sure that I at least know about a little bit of each of the aspects that we're going to be covering in the bootcamp. What kind of systems we'll be using. Like, for example, we use Trello, we use Jira, we use Figma. So even if I didn't know how to use that system, I basically just Googled it and saw what is that system for, right? So what is Figma used for? Okay, Figma is used for design. So at least now I have a mental image of Figma, that it's design. Jira, what is that? SQL, what is that? And so on and so forth. So that's a little bit of research that I did before the bootcamp started. And then once it started, then we had access to the entire learning management system, right? So we knew exactly what is going to be coming up in the next lecture. So I always made sure that at least I'm prepared for the next lecture by clicking on the lecture notes. So not to overwhelm myself with everything that's going to be covered, but at least to know what I will be expecting in the next lecture, so it doesn't catch me by surprise. Also, to make sure that I ask the right questions, right? So always ready to ask questions when during the lectures. So that really helped.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, as soon as you get access to the materials, it's always smart to kind of comb through it and just mentally prepare yourself. And I don't know, when I do that, sometimes I end up writing down 5 questions that I didn't even know I'd have, just because it's like, oh, geez, and
Absolutely, that is so true.
feel more prepared going into the discussion
Definitely.
sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's great advice. When you enrolled in the boot camp, did you have any specific goals in mind?
Yes. Well, the number one goal was to get a job. That's why I enrolled in it. But apart from that, apart from getting a job, I wanted to uh, basically use this boot camp or use this certification to sort of like a conversation starter. Or like something to do with cover letters, right? So if I have something like a formal education or a boot camp education on product management, I can reach out to people on LinkedIn, or when I'm applying for jobs, I can write it down in my resume, or I can mention that in the cover letter that, hey, I'm pursuing this boot camp from from University of Toronto with collaboration with SircleStream, and I'm expected to finish this on this date. I'm really excited to learn more about products. If I'm applying for associate roles or junior level roles, that really helps. So definitely, that was my number one expectation. Like finding the jobs, do right networking on LinkedIn, so I can use a lot of people from University of Toronto and reach out to them and say, hey, you also went to University of Toronto, or you did something from there. I'm also doing this, in the product domain. Let's connect and discuss more. So it's always better to network with like-minded people and go on from there. So that really helped me so far. I mean, the boot camp's still going on, but I'm still doing all of those things right now.
Absolutely. I'm a huge advocate for networking in any capacity. It's, education helps what you're doing in the job, but oftentimes networking itself can land you opportunities too. So it's just a
Yeah,
great, and you can just sponge up information from other human beings as well who may have learned slightly different skill sets, and just kind of
sure.
combine
And
those
in the current
together.
job market in these days, networking is key. So if there's anything that you can use as a common topic or a common anything to talk about, that really helps. And that actually helps the other person also to understand where I'm coming from, right? So that is one of the things that I expected from this boot camp, and I'm able to do that successfully.
Amazing. Okay. Um, and this is just kind of an overall general question about the boot camp, but with no specifics in mind, how's the overall experience been so far? Has it been positive? Has it been difficult? Has it been a huge learning curve? How's the experience been for you?
In short, it's been positive for sure. There's ups and downs for sure. The boot camp's going to keep you busy because there are labs, and career labs are also going on, and then you have classes twice a week. So the overall experience is pretty good. Our instructor, he is a product manager, so I consider him industry expert. He doesn't say that he's an expert, but I tell him you're an expert. He is really good in a lot of things, and on the product side. So my experience with the instructor has also been really great. Apart from that, then we have career labs going on, which talk about how to find jobs, how to work on your resume, cover letter. That experience has been great as well. The career advisors are really knowledgeable on that aspect. So overall, very positive so far.
Good, good. And just a shout out to the instructor of Amandeep's course here that he's talking about is Dennis, and he works for Grammarly. So just to give people a little bit of a, because he's totally an expert working in the field. If he doesn't call himself that, that's funny. But
Yeah,
he totally is.
and he is. He's been with Grammarly for almost 5 years now, and so he has also switched jobs within Grammarly. So there's a lot of things that he can answer for you in terms of technical aspects or how you're going to start as a product manager. What can you expect in the first week or first 30 days, and so on and so forth. So those type of questions are. That's why I said it's really positive to just have general conversation with him and say, hey, how has your experience been as a product manager in total?
Absolutely. I had him do a session with me about a month ago, and it was like an instructor focus session. Now we're doing a student focus session. I think I'll probably default back and do another instructor one in a little bit, because he was great to have in. He's super knowledgeable and such a nice guy. So, I mean,
100%
all
agree.
of our instructors are, I have to say. But cool. Okay. So the next question here is, what are some of the most valuable skills or knowledge that you've gained from the boot camp? And what are some of the tools that you're using? I know you kind of mentioned a few of those earlier, but maybe we could just mention those again.
Sure. Yeah, those are the systems, but there are many skills that I gained during the boot camp. So I come from a little bit of a product domain, so I was pretty comfortable on the execution side of it. But the things that opened my mind and surprised me were the strategy part of product. So during the boot camp, we studied, when you're working on a net new feature is basically anything new that doesn't exist in the market or doesn't exist on a product. So if you're using an app, there's no feature on it, that is a net new feature. How do you come up with it, right? It's easier to work on something that's already there, to improve something or work or build on top of it. But how do you start something brand new? That is a net new feature. So that, I guess, in my opinion, that is the most valuable skill I learned. Like how do you start the idea? Where does the idea come from? And how do you validate it, right? If there's an idea, how do you communicate it across the people so that they know, yep, this is a great idea. It's worth working on. It's worth spending money on. And the customer's going to love it. How do you make sure that the customer's going to love it? You don't know just by jotting a few notes down, right? So there's a whole lot of things that go in ideation. Once you have the idea, then you communicate that with your stakeholders. You make sure everybody's on board. You make sure you have enough data to back it up, right? How do you generate that data? How do you create visual presentations or compelling hypothesis to communicate that part to your stakeholders and say, hey, we're going to work on this. And if we did this, it's going to increase this. It's going to increase customer experience. It's going to increase adoption. It's going to increase revenue. Ultimately, the aim of the product managers is revenue growth and the company growth, right? So I guess, in my opinion, that is one of the things that I did not know about. And I think that is a skill to work on. It's a really valuable skill to have. Like, how do you support your hypothesis and go on from there? Once you have the ideation, I feel it's pretty easy for you to execute it, how to build it. So building, testing, delivering, I already knew those parts before. The strategy part was something that I really loved about this course. And we actually cover a lot of theoretical parts of that also. So that's your second question, like what tools did we use, right? So all the previous ones that I mentioned, SQL, Figma, all those are applications. But during the early stages of this boot camp, there's a lot of strategy. And we actually covered a lot of business concepts and frameworks. For example, and those frameworks are really theoretical, right? So a product manager is not expected to use those frameworks. Like, the job description would not say that, but it will definitely help you as a product manager to come up with that idea and use that framework to support that idea. Like for example, just to throw it out, blue ocean strategy, right? It's a business concept. It's a business concept 30, 40 years old. I did not know about that before. So if you know blue ocean strategy, you know where your product or feature stands on a blue ocean strategy. Is it blue ocean? Is it red ocean? Is it bluish ocean? Stuff like that. So there's a lot of business concepts that you guys will learn. Blue ocean is there. Ansoff matrix is there. We learned about value proposition, how to build a value proposition canvas. Again, as a product manager, no manager will come back to you and say, hey, build me a product value proposition canvas. but it's really, really important for a product manager to build that so that you know what the customer wants and what you can deliver, and then meet them with your product or feature. So those are the kind of tools that are introduced in this boot camp. And then there are questions within the lectures where you're asked uh, hypothetical questions, right? Situational questions. Like, this is the new feature that we're going to be launching. You, as a product manager, if you work in, let's say, Uber, how are you going to tackle it? So now that starts your thinking, okay, I'm going to use value prop, or I'm going to use product market fit, or I'm going to see what the NPS or net promoter score is going to be. And then from there, I'm going to support this or communicate this to my stakeholders. So all of those tools are like the strategy part of product manager. And at the end, what we're doing right now is more towards execution and collaboration. So tools like Jira, Figma for UI design, there's SQL. We got introduced with a little bit SQL. So I was already aware about SQL, but there's a lot of other students who were not. So basics of SQL, what is it used for, data extraction, stuff like that. A/B testing. We saw A/B testing also a really cool thing in the product world. So we saw it doesn't matter which application you use, but what is A/B testing? That itself is a framework, right? So we got introduced to a lot of these kind of tools, and I think once people start working as product managers, they will be inclined towards using these tools. So you have all this arsenal of different tools and applications and frameworks. It's up to you as a product manager how much deep you want to go in, how much creative you can be on all of those things. So that would really help you as a product manager to grow.
Amazing. Yeah, we use, I work in marketing. We use A/B testing all the time too here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But one thing I was going to ask you, and I do apologize, Amandeep, this is not a question I prepared you for in advance. So to
No
the
problem.
audience, I'm putting them on the spot right now, but it's just a bit of an extension of one of the previous questions, and it's kind of based on your response. So you had a bit of experience going into the course, but in terms of the structure of the course, I'm sure you probably had classmates with no experience or with much less around you. Do you feel that the boot camp is still kind of set up well for people who are true beginners who kind of have to start from the ground up?
That's actually an excellent question. I should have covered that. Yes, I think it is. The boot camp is not. I didn't approach the boot camp as that kind of mindset where I already know about product management. But a lot of people in our class, in our cohort, they come from very diverse backgrounds. They don't have any product experience. So I think the topics that are covered are at a very, so all the business concept, for example, that I'm explaining, didn't want to scare you guys, but those, the instructor goes through all of those, like how did it start, how are you going to supposed to use it, and then he also draws with his Apple Pencil and show, okay, if you guys will do the assignment, this is how it should look like. So if you're doing a value prop canvas, this is what I'm expecting. So he actually shows a visual representation in the class itself. So if you have no idea what a value prop canvas is, or what a product market fit is, or how user stories are built, the instructor will cover that, right? And as part of the lecture, you are given 10-15 minutes after about 1 hour to work on those questions in the class itself. So you're given 15 minutes and say, okay, this is a hypothetical question. If you were the product manager and if you're writing a user story based on whatever we have learned in the last 1 hour, let's write 1 or 2 user stories encompassing everything that we have done. So students will quickly write it, and then they will post it. They will either share your screen or they will put it on the comments. So I think if you have no background in product, it doesn't matter, because the concepts that are going to be covered, they are very theoretical. You will learn about the theory side of it, and then slowly you will be introduced towards the execution, practical, technical, all those different sides of it. And I think it is designed in such a way that you don't have to have any product experience at all.
Amazing. Yeah, I wanted to clarify that point quick, because I thought that was going to be your answer. I honestly I had no idea what you were going to say to that, but I know that the courses are set up to be beginner friendly. So I was hoping that was going to be your response. And I just imagined some people in the audience kind of hearing you say that you had a bit of experience going in, and then them wondering, like, do I have to have some experience first? And I just want to kind of make sure they knew that that you don't. That's not the case at all. You can certainly be a true beginner there. So.
For sure, my goal, or the way I work, is like a sponge. So even though I had some experience in product, I did not approach this course with that mindset that I know this or I know it all. Right? I was like a sponge. I was like, okay, whatever this guy's teaching, I'm going to absorb it, because he's an industry leader. He's been working with one or many companies as a product manager before. So if you're talking about metrics, KPIs, strategy, I just listened. And because the class profile is such, I didn't want to introduce what I've learned. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to listen, absorb whatever he's saying, and then work on the questions and then work on the assignments. Based on the assignments, when you get your results back, then you know, yep, whatever was taught and I did my assignment, was it worth it or not? Was it good or not? Right? So they score you based on a certain rubric, and your concept and your skills are tested in the assignments better.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Cool. Okay, and I can see some questions piling in there. I think we're doing okay for time here. We're only at the half an hour mark, and we've only got a few more questions to go through here. So my questions, I should say. Then we'll focus on the audience one. For anybody who's joined this session just in the last few minutes here, I just want to note again quickly that this whole thing will be recorded, and you will get a copy of it afterwards. So if you've just joined and you're furiously writing down notes to try and keep up with what we're saying, you're welcome to if you'd like to, but you can also just kind of relax and sit back and you'll get a recording of all this afterwards. So, and continue to throw your questions in the questions tab there. And we're going to circle back for some audience Q&A probably in about 10, 15 minutes here. But I'm just going to jump into the next question for you here, Amandeep. Mm-hmm. How do the course materials and teaching methods align with real world product manager practices?
So I think I touched on this a little bit. Yes, they align well, and I can speak better because I do have some experience in the product world before. So a lot of hypotheticals that are asked within the lectures are pretty much real world examples. They are hypothetical real world examples. Like if you are a product manager of DoorDash, and if you were to do this, how would you do this, right? So there are hypotheticals that put you on the spot, and sometimes you are supposed to share your screen or brainstorm with other students and then come up with these things. And this is a typical product manager's day in the life. They brainstorm a lot, they share screen, they work with others. They're always working on hypotheses and stuff like that. So I think it aligns pretty well. There's a lot of theory that is also covered, like I was mentioning about the business concepts, right? A lot of places, like the product manager job description is not going to say that you are going to be building Ansoff matrix, right? So a lot of places will not mention that. So you'll have a whole lot of tools at your arsenal. You may feel that, hey, I don't need to use this, but you might want to use that to support your hypothesis or communicate your message to the stakeholders. So I would say the boot camp and the practices and everything that is covered in it align pretty well with the real world situations in that regard. And again, it's up to it's your call as a product manager whether you want to use that concept in real world or you want to use a different framework. Like there are tons of prioritization frameworks out there, right? There's Moscow, there's RISE, there's stuff like that. So if you're working in a place where they want you to have quantitative prioritization, then you should know which framework you're going to be using. So we covered a lot of frameworks in the class, but do we have to use all of those frameworks as a product manager in real time? Absolutely not. But if you know which framework to use, quantitatively, qualitatively, or if there's something else that the company uses, then you know, yep, I've studied that one in the course. Or if you have not studied, that's fine because you can Google it all the time. But yes, what I'm trying to say is the business concepts, they would align. You will feel that you may not need it, but it's always good to know all those things beforehand, and all the stuff that you might be using while you're working as a product manager.
Totally. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Okay, let me see here. I keep looking at the time and the number of questions I've got left. I want to be respectful here and make sure we're good, but I think we're good. So can you describe what a typical week looks like in the boot camp? Like what's the balance between theory and practical application? Just what's the balance like, I guess, with just your life and, just in general overall?
Sure. Yeah. So you'll have classes Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? So it might, if you're working full-time, 9 to 5, and I'm based in Toronto, so boot camp starts at 6:30 to 9. There are 2 classes, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I guess after every 3 weeks or 1 month, there's a lab, which is super useful, by the way. Lab is the practical session. So in the lab, there's no theory done. It's just applications. If you're working on, say, Figma, the lab is only going to be focused on one application. And you will be given a certain task, and then you will be sent in your rooms or individual tasks, and then you will work on it and then come back and share. Everybody will get their time and chance to share their screens, right? So a typical week would be when you have those two classes, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Those are perfectly fine because I can manage or balance my work-life balance like that. But when you have the Wednesdays classes, then you have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 days classes. That becomes a little bit overwhelming because especially if you're working, right? If you're working 9 to 5, so you gotta, and then you have assignments, right? So there are assignments after every module, I think, yes, after every module, right? And those assignments, they usually give about a week or 2 weeks to finish. So if the lecture was finished on Thursday, the assignment's going to be due the next Saturday or Sunday, right? So you'll have some time to work on those assignments also. But the assignments are time consuming. They are not just 1 hour, 2 hour assignments. They really put you on the spot and you really have to think. It's not, those assignments are not easy. I'm not scaring it. They're not really hard or difficult or any rocket science or such like that. They just make you think. And all the concept that you've studied in the previous lectures, you're going to be like, okay, if I have to do this, which framework should I be using, right? And then there's the communication part of it, because the instructor is going to be looking at about 10, 15 assignments. So you got to make sure that the communication part of it is super clear, right? If you're preparing a deck, the instructor can easily comprehend it. If you're preparing a document and you don't want to be doing a 10-page document because it's going to be super overwhelming for the instructor. So you got to come up with some creative ways to deliver your message. And that is also a product manager's world, by the way. You're going to be thrown into situations where you have to create presentations quickly and creatively, and then make sure those presentations work and are communicated to the stakeholders. So assignments are going to take some time. On an average, about 4 to 6 hours. There are some really lengthy ones. There are some short ones. If I manage my time, I knew about the assignments coming, so I started right away. So that is the best advice I can give right now, is to not procrastinate at all on the assignments because they really take some time up. And it's always better to submit it beforehand because the instructor gets overwhelmed with different assignments if everybody's submitting at the end of the hour or the end of the due date. So it's always better to submit them on time. So if you have the assignment due coming up, say this Sunday, you would have maybe 3 lectures this week. So that would take up a lot of your time. You have 2 lectures, 1 lab, and then every other month, I guess, or after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you have the career lab also. So there might be weeks where you have 3-day classes, which is the lab on the Wednesday. And then the next week, there might be 2 classes, but then the career lab on that Wednesday. And then there might be assignments coming up. So it's gonna keep you busy for sure, for at least 4, 5, or 6 months.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's all scheduled and all structured to work around regular working hours. But I think what you said just kind of, hits the nail on the head. You just have to manage your time well. You probably have to use a little bit of your weekends to kind of get yourself caught up on some of your assignments outside of the work week. But I mean, that's usually the mentality of somebody jumping into a boot camp. They're kind of willing to dive in and do all that. And honestly, if your answer had been, it's not really, it's kind of easy, it's super, I don't think we'd have the success rates that we do for our boot camps because it's, we want to make you think, we want to make you, put you on the spot a little bit, but in the best way with like the best tools and the best support systems that we possibly can. So
definitely, yeah.
So that was good. That's exactly what I was hoping you were going to say. And then how has the course helped you with networking?
A lot, I would say. So and there are different types. So networking is basically when you meet people that have common topics to talk about, right? So first of all, the networking would be your cohort, right? So everybody's joining that cohort, everybody's joining the class with the same mindset of learning about product management. They all want to get product manager jobs. So that would be the first stage of networking. All right. So I'm in contact with all of my cohorts. We talk, not outside maybe, but just discuss about product management, share ideas, chat about it. Then of course there's your instructor who he's also a network. So if you add him on LinkedIn or anywhere else, that becomes a network. Um, you could be doing secondary level networking. For example, like I mentioned early on, I used this course as a conversation starter to just break the ice, So earlier I could not do it. So if I see somebody with a University of Toronto or Circuit Stream certification, I reach out to them on LinkedIn and say, hey, we have this thing in common. Can we touch base? Even better if that person is a hiring manager. That is a bullseye. That would be the best case situation. But even if it's not, you can connect with people on LinkedIn and share ideas. Product owners, product managers, somebody who has just started as a product manager, say associate product manager, get in touch with them, and which I did on LinkedIn a lot. I started connecting with people. I just basically started following people, and sometimes I would hear back and I say, okay, I'm doing this boot camp in which I'm learning all of these things. And I really like that you've also worked on e-commerce, for example. You have 15, 20 minutes, we can chat. If I see, I always see what company they're from. So I look at any job openings in that company beforehand. So as I said, I always like to be prepared when I go in for a conversation or anything like that. So I know I don't immediately jump in and say, hey, I'm looking for this job. I want this job. Can you refer me? No, I start the conversation and then I slowly start asking them, okay, this is how your company works. How does a product manager role look like in your company? What kind of different products you work on, and so on and so forth. So I think it's not going to be just network related. So the mindset is not going to be like, hey, I joined the boot camp and I would do a lot of networking. No, but you would have to step outside your comfort zone and find your own ways on how you can network and use this boot camp, the keywords, University of Toronto, Circuit Stream, product management, stuff like that, to start conversations with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll throw in two quick, again, I keep looking at the time. We've got a couple more questions here. They're important ones. I want to make sure we get through. But the other thing I'll add to this is that we have a huge network for all of our current students and our graduates too. So once you graduate the course or you've completed the course, any of our courses, we don't kick you out. We encourage you to kind of stay in and network and kind of work together. So just a big community here that we try and create at Circuit Stream as well. So
that's great. Yeah. And I think there's the pitch day also, which we haven't come across yet because I'm still working on the product bootcamp, so it's not ended yet. We just went through our midterm, but I know there's a pitch day, and there are people who attend that pitch day. So the idea behind pitch day is that you work on a product ground up, and you do everything that you have learned: strategy, ideation, how are you going to do collaboration, execution, testing, everything, and then you present that in your pitch day. So I think that would present a really cool networking stage where people will be looking at your work, and you can definitely reach out to them afterwards, also on LinkedIn or a different platform. But yes, I think that would be a great networking opportunity that we'll see.
Yeah, pitch day is great. We allow the students to highlight their own skill sets too, especially if they work together on projects for the final thing that they're presenting. Sometimes they're solo, sometimes they're projects, but you really get the opportunity to say, hi, I'm Tyler. This is what I worked on. This is what I'm interested in. These are my skill sets, and visually take a look at what we kind of completed in this boot camp. And then we also invite hiring and industry partners into that room. Whether or not they're hiring right away, some of them may have opportunities right away. Some of them may be looking for future state for a couple months down the road. But the cool thing is that we get them into a space with our graduates and allow the graduates to really kind of present who they are and what they've learned and what they've worked on. And it's very, very common that internships, contract opportunities, or just positions are offered through those sort of sessions. So cool. All right. And then so two more here. And then we can hop right into the audience Q&A. So I was going to ask, what are your next steps after completing this course? Would you like to pursue a role in product management right away? How will it help, or how will the career support maybe help you near the end? There's a bit of an update here, so on your side, I'm sure. So maybe you can just share what your recent update and your success there.
Sure. Yeah. No. I got a job in product management. So my goal to do this, or to enroll in this course, was to get a job like everybody else. But as soon as I enrolled, I started applying for jobs, and I started using this as a platform to introduce myself to others, and just to say, hey, I'm pursuing this, and it's going to be finishing up August end. And these are the skills that I'm going to be gaining. So I wrote a lot of cover letters and started applying to jobs. And so actually yesterday was my first day as a product manager in a new company. Which is cool, which is what I wanted to accomplish by using this course. So that is kudos to the boot camp, everybody in Circuit Stream, University of Toronto, and myself too, of course. But yes, I plan to stay in. I'm a product guy, so I plan to stay in product field for as long as I can. I'm going to be using a lot of these concepts that I learned, especially on the business concept and the frameworks. Hopefully all those frameworks will help me grow as a product manager here.
Absolutely. And we don't have to share any sort of specifics about the opportunity, but I will mention that it's a very well-known and very large company, and it's a great opportunity. So right before we came in the session here, I was also saying a big congrats to you, Amandeep. So again,
Thank
and
you.
when I just said it in the chat too again there. So
thank you. No, I'm very glad. I during the interview, a lot of questions were asked that I quickly, because we talk about product every day, every week. So it's always fresh in your mind when you apply for interviews and somebody asks, hey, okay, how are you going to do this idea? How are you going to communicate? And you're like, okay, I studied this with Dennis a few days ago, so I know what to talk about here, right? So it's always fresh in the mind and you can talk more about during the interview. So that's why I think the concepts and everything that is covered in the bootcamp really helps to answer questions related to anything, product, ideation, development, technicalities like SQL, or what the backend looks like and stuff like that. So any kind of job that you're applying for, I think in the product world, this can really help.
So, I mean, that you kind of just answered the last question too, which is perfect. I was going to just feed it into what you were saying here. Like, what advice would you give to somebody who's wanting to be a product manager, may or may not have any experience, and they're considering taking a course like the bootcamp that you're in right now? And you kind of hit a bunch of the points a second ago there about, but I'll let you actually answer that one.
Sure. Yeah. No. The first advice the most important thing I would say is during the bootcamp, ask as many questions as you can. Don't think that somebody else is going to ask that question and my question will be answered by somebody else. There's no stupid question. There's no silly question. All questions are good. And the instructor is expert enough to answer those questions. If he cannot, he always comes back and say, okay, I'll come back and maybe we'll do some research and get back to you on this. But asking questions really is important, because first of all, that shows that you're prepared for the class. So you went through the class notes beforehand, so you know what questions I'm going to be asking in this class. So if it's a strategy question, if it's an execution question, if it's anything, UX design, what is UX? For example, what is the difference between UI and UX, right? So user interface and user experience. Okay, user interface is good, but what is user experience? I don't know what that is, right? So asking those kind of questions in the class really, really helps. And when you ask those questions and when you get the answer, you get an answer and you see all those keywords that the instructor is using. Like when we were talking about metrics, there were a lot of new metrics that were introduced to us. User adoption is one, but there are so many other metrics that every different company have, which is industry standards, right? So asking questions help me a lot, basically. But that would be my number one advice, to just go ahead prepared with it and then ask as many questions as you can. And then second one would be when the situational questions were asked, the hypotheticals. Those are like the perfect case scenario for interviews. Those are the kind of questions that are asked in the interviews. If you are the product manager in this company and you want to build a feature on a website, what are your steps going to be? Right? How would you approach this as a product manager if you were to improve the customer journey of Nike.com, right? Those are the kind of situational questions that are given in the lectures. And those questions really make you think. It's easy. I mean, it's not mandatory to answer those questions in the lecture, but it's really important if you work on it. It doesn't matter what your state of mind is at that time. You're tired or not. You had a long day. It doesn't matter. Start thinking, start putting on your product manager hat and say, okay, if I'm the product manager and I have a real-time job at Nike.com, how am I going to approach it? Those are the type of questions that will really, really help, because those are the type of questions that are asked during the interview, and lecture is the safest place to make mistakes. You can make as many mistakes as you can, right? The instructor's there to correct you. So, and that's what I did. I made a lot of mistakes, but there was other people who corrected, okay, ask questions. Okay, Amandeep, why are you doing this? It's not needed. I'm like, yeah, you're right. This is not needed for sure. But what would you do if it's not needed? Right? So those are the kind of healthy discussions and arguments you want to get in with your peers in the lecture, which helps tremendously. That is the most important thing of it all. Even more important than knowing or understanding or learning the concepts that are introduced in the course, because that makes you think as a product manager. So you don't have to come from a product field or a product background at all. But when you're asked those questions, just imagine you're a product manager, you're given a job, you're being paid for it. Okay, how are you going to answer that question? Those two pieces of advice will be my number one for sure.
Amazing. And it's probably safe to say that if someone was questioning whether or not the bootcamp was a good way to get into it, you'd probably have positive feedback there, considering your experience,
For
and
sure.
that you just secured a job as well. So, okay, so we have 9 minutes here, unless you can go a little bit over the hour, but we'll do our best here. So I'm just going to flip over to the presentation quick. I'm going to minimize you, Amandeep, over here.
Okay.
And then just beside me over here, I'm going to share some quick details here. I see some of the questions in here are about the course specifics too. So hopefully my next few slides here might even answer that already in advance for you. But so I'm going to share some of the information about the upcoming pricing and the cohort dates here for people in the audience. So the bootcamp pricing information, the full cost of the bootcamp is $10,500. And of course, if somebody wanted to take it, they can pay for that up front, or they're welcome to pay over time. We have 6, 12, and 24-month periods for that. And then, in terms of contact information here, actually, I'll share the cohort first here. So the upcoming cohort date for the next Product Management Bootcamp is starting on September 14th, and it's going to run straight through to February 18th. I'm not sure how many seats we have left in it. I know a lot of our courses are getting pretty filled up these days. So if you are interested, just make sure that you reach out. I'd probably say sooner rather than later to just kind of confirm what the availability looks like. And in terms of reaching out, this is the best way to do it here. You can reach our admissions team at the 416 number there, or you can email the UFT-SCS at xcourse.com. Or you can literally just scan the QR code on screen too, which will take you right to the course page. And then within that, you can request to book a meeting. I think we have a live chat function or a chat bot or something on the website there. But either way, there's lots of ways you can get a hold of us. But this is just a few options for you here. If you just give us a shout or an email, it'll get you directly connected with the admissions team there. And that was it. I just wanted to quickly share those details because I saw some questions about upcoming dates and stuff. And I'm going to throw this stuff up here. So how many times has this bootcamp already run? Will the next bootcamp run after the fall session? So I just provided the upcoming start date for the next one there. This cohort that Amandeep's in is our first product management bootcamp. But we have kind of a proven success model in different areas like game development, game design, software development. And we have quite a few cohort graduates over the last several years all of our cohorts, I should say, but we've got a lot of individual case studies, I should say, that we can share with you. We can share success rates from our other boot camps. We can kind of share the success rates from this boot camp. I think with your stat, Amandeep, that you just secured this job that you've got now, I'm pretty sure that means that 50% of the current product management bootcamp has already secured employment before the course has even ended, which is kind of crazy. So don't quote me on that, but that's a stat that our student outcomes manager mentioned to me privately earlier today, which is kind of cool. So I can't give too much in terms of outcomes from this one after it's completed because it's still in progress and it's the first one. But 50% of the current students have already secured work, and we have a lot of positive stats from other boot camps, and they're all offered through the partnership through the universities there. So I have a project management background. However, my experience is that fully remote jobs are still limited and are hybrid. Are there more remote opportunities for product managers, and why? I don't know. I mean, I know that there's certainly opportunities. I wouldn't necessarily be able to say if there's more for product managers versus project managers. But I know that there's certainly hybrid and remote opportunities available in a ton of different industries now, especially following COVID. So I don't know if you have any specifics on that, Amandeep, but that's probably my best answer for that one there.
No, I think you're right. When I was looking at jobs on LinkedIn, I saw a lot of remote product manager jobs. And again, product management is also people's job also, because you're communicating with people a lot. But there are, I don't know why, but there are many remote jobs available for product managers for sure. There are on-site jobs also. Some jobs require you to be on site for at least 2 days. That's what my current job requires me to. But product management would be something like you would see a lot of remote jobs on LinkedIn.
I've seen quite a few too. That makes sense. How has the career aspect been in terms of the product management role for you so far after joining the bootcamp? Assuming the overall market has a downward trend. So you must have added this one in earlier before we kind of got to the career questions and Amandeep's current opportunity that he has here. So he's going through some of the career components because he's nearing the end of the course and he still has things coming up like pitch day. However, he's probably not as personally invested in some of those now as he may have been previously, because he just secured a great job for a great company and he's just kind of in the process of starting as a product manager there. So hopefully that answers the question. I mean, the career support's already supported him and helped him secure what he's got here. So what percentage of assignments are individual versus group work? Well, this is a good one for you, Amandeep.
Let's see. All assignments are individual so far. All of the group work is mostly during the lectures. So when you're working on those hypothetical questions and the lab. So the Wednesdays labs are groups. So they send us in different groups and you can work in groups like pairs of 2 or more, but all the other assignments are all individual assignments.
And can you give me an example of one of those assignments? I'm just jumping into the next question here too that I can see.
Let's see if I remember any right now. For example, the midterm. Midterm's a big one because I'm still working on it. The midterm is all about new feature ideation. So you are supposed to use all the stuff that you have studied and come up with a new feature. A lot of people I know are using existing apps, like maybe LCBO app, and then building a new feature in it. And then basically documenting as a product manager, you're supposed to show, or you're supposed to build a one-pager, then you're supposed to build a PRD, which is product requirements document. That all becomes a part of your assignment. That's why I said the assignments are really time-consuming because it requires a lot of work and it requires a lot of typing and a lot of research also, right? So early on, the product management starts with just basically choosing a company and then making like mission, vision, strategy. What is the mission of this company? What is a vision? That was the first assignment that we worked on. That was like the easiest one. It took me about 1 hour to finish up. But as you move on, the assignments get tougher because you have to work on those different individual spaces where you're supposed to build strategy and such. So bootcamp covers this. Not bootcamp. The midterm covers everything until strategy, and then the capstone, which is at the end of it, is basically supposed to. Is like the second part of your midterm. So in that one, personally, what I'm doing is building a brand new feature, brand new product, using all the different business frameworks that I learned to support that, and then building one-pager PRDs, and then building a prototype in Figma, which is also we learned during the course, to basically test that new product with existing features or existing customers. So that's a typical example of how these assignments are going to be. They're going to be very, very intensive and will cover a lot of text and visuals for sure.
Amazing. I'm going to quickly just, because I can see a bunch of questions here. There's a couple here that are going to be good for you. I'm going to quickly go through. So what kind of certification do you get after the bootcamp? You get a combined certification through CircuitStream and through the University of Toronto. I shared it a little earlier, so you'll probably get a recorded version of that. Excuse me, folks, 1 second. A tickle in my throat this entire session here, so I do apologize. Is there a payment assistance for the program? There are different types of support that you can get payment assistance. I believe if you go to our website, we've got some of those listed there. But we also have payment plans available, so you can pay it off over a period of time versus doing it up front. And I see a question about OSAP. I don't think you would qualify for OSAP for this course. I think the course threshold. The minimum course spend for OSAP is a little bit higher than what our bootcamp cost would be. But there are different types of funding that should be available for you there. Just take a look on the website. And if you have any further questions on that, just reach out to the admissions team. They can give you all the details on that. And then just combing through these. What was your level of software development programming before this boot camp? So we actually do run a software development specific boot camp, separate from this one, that really focuses on software development and engineering development. So Tamid, if you were interested in software development on that side, I'd probably push you a little bit more towards taking a look at that boot camp. Again, if you just go to circuitstream.com and click on our adult courses, you should be able to see both options, the product management course and the software development course. But I don't think, like, this one probably overlaps a little bit with some of that, but correct me if I'm wrong, Amandeep, it doesn't really dive heavy into software development practices in this course, right?
No, not at all. Not the software development practices, no, or engineering side of it. Yeah, it does cover a little bit of concepts on the technical side, like SQL and stuff, but not too much on the software development.
Yeah, which makes sense. So, Tamid, if you were interested in software development, just go to our course page, take a look. You can request this download syllabus for the software course, the bootcamp, or you could just reach out to the admissions team and they'll give you a bunch of information there too. Salary expectations for a person with their certificate in product management from a university in Toronto, high, lowest, average. It's really hard to answer this question because salary expectations or salary offerings would be completely different depending on which company you're working for, how large that company is, where you're located. Is it remote? Is it in person? Like there's so many different factors that can go into it. But the thing that I usually would say to people is, like, I shared the average salary earlier in Canada, and I think it was about 109,000 according to Glassdoor last year. So it's probably, the average might even be a bit higher. But for junior level product managers who are brand new, so say you had no experience, you took this course and you're applying for your very first job, you're certainly not going to qualify for the highest range, highest tier, job that's out there, paying the highest salary. Probably going to take a few years to get there, the same as it would with any other industry. But realistically, if you kind of take an average and you look at like the lower end of it, that's where you'd probably be sitting for the initial junior level roles that you'd be applying for. So that's kind of the best way I can do that or answer that one. Why can't you find a master's degree in product management offering from a university? I don't know if there's master's degrees offered for product management currently. Maybe it's just, I know that product management overall is a little bit of a newer industry within the last like 10, 15 years, or considered to be a little bit of a newer industry to a lot of folks. So, maybe there's just further development that will happen there. Maybe there's other courses and programs that'll eventually kind of come through the university system. But as it currently stands, things like this bootcamp work really well if you're looking for a way to kind of break into the industry. And it's actually great because it's if these courses don't exist yet, then you've got a little bit of a faster into the industry versus a 4-year university program, which is kind of the purpose of high-paced boot camp. So. And then just the last question here that I can see: as a recent engineering graduate with mostly experience in manufacturing industry and now working as a consulting engineer in the building insulation industry, how difficult would it be for someone like me with a little experience in the tech industry to get into tech and product management? So, I mean, I could say, just based on what we said earlier, you certainly don't have to have any specific skills from product management. But with the background that you have, there's probably a whole bunch of soft transferable skills that you can kind of carry over into this sort of field too. So absolutely, you could do it. You could start completely brand new and you'd still be fine. You don't even have to have the existing background that you have. You could have no background and start completely brand new and you'd still be okay. But because you shared a little bit of your background there, I'd say there's probably still some soft and maybe some hard skills as well that could kind of carry over into this role and into this industry too. It's always things that are transferable that way. So I can see you nodding, Amandeep. So I'm hoping you're in agreement with what I'm saying there.
Yep, no, totally agree on that one for sure. There are definitely skills that you can carry, but of course you're going to be starting as a new product manager, so mostly looking at junior or associate product roles. And then go on from there. But you can use a lot of the stuff that you learned during the course to just market yourself. Just know, hey, I know how to do this. It also, because you're doing midterms and capstone and different assignments, you can use this. You can use those as your portfolio and attach it in your LinkedIn or show as a cover letter, hey, I worked on these assignments and I know all these concepts. I'm looking for a junior product manager role, and I think I'll be a great fit. So that definitely helps.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And in the essence of time here, we've gone 5 minutes over what I promised Amandeep we would do. So we're gonna end the session here. I saw one more question come in about project management versus product management, and it would be the same answer as what we've kind of said. Like you'll probably have quite a few skills and even more in that instance to carry over. But you don't even have to have previous experience there. You could start brand new as a product manager, and you'd be fine. So that's today's session. I'm going to let Amandeep hop off here and go to his lovely new job and do what he needs to do on that side. But huge thank you, Amandeep, for taking the time here today to share some information with me and to share information for the audience here. It's always invaluable to hear from one of our current students and what the experience is like there. So
thank you for having me, Tyler, and good luck to everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to have you back for a future session, Amandeep. I'll reach out private to you later, but enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you to all of the folks who joined us here today. Look for the recording in your inbox afterwards, and reach out to our admissions team if you have any questions at all about the course or getting started here. So thank you all, and have a fantastic Tuesday. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.